Now, we need to talk about other hardware requirements, other things you might need. You need a scanner. Scanners are so cheap right now. I just bought a scanner last week for $60. I mean, they're very inexpensive right now. You want a scanner with the highest optical resolution you can get, and typically that's going to be 600 to 1200 dots per inch DPI. A scanner will often call it SPI, samples per inch, or PPI, pixels per inch, but you want to get a high number. And you want to get a scanner that has what's called a high dynamic range. That means it's going to see the image a little better. It's going to see very subtle areas better. Some scanners see the image like that, and I'm blind without my glasses. They see it as like white, gray, and black. And you want a scanner that's going to have good eyesight. It's going to see the image nice and sharp. It's going to see all the subtle variations in the image. But again, you could get a good scanner for, you know, $100, $200, not a big deal. We need to have a way to output the film. So we talked over at the press about how the process works. We have to have some way to burn a screen, and we're going to burn a screen either from a clear film that has the image in black because the black image blocks the light, if you recall. We can also output, of course, off of vellum paper. This again will burn a screen. This is very transparent, translucent actually, and light will go through this, and the toner blocks the light from hitting the screen when you're exposing your screen. Both will burn a good screen, but the problem is that some output devices don't have enough black image on the film or the vellum to burn a great screen, so you're always struggling burning screens. Let's talk for a second about what we're going to use to output films. We could use a standard laser printer. You could just take the image out of your computer graphic programs, print it out, and out of the printer comes the vellum paper, often called acetate because you can buy more of a plastic as opposed to a paper. The problem with a laser printer is it doesn't lay enough toner down sometimes, and if you're doing a multicolor design, the fusing rollers for the laser, which get hot, shrink the film, and things don't line up. You know, if you have a multicolor print, you need two images, and they've got to line up. And so here we have one for one color, one for the other, but they've got to line up. And if your laser printer has shrunk this slightly, you go to press and you screw around all day long trying to get the thing to line up and have the image print in the right location. It doesn't happen. Now, people have used laser printers for years, and so don't get me wrong, you can use a laser printer, but technology has changed, and we're now getting away from using a laser printer. The hot deal right now is using an inkjet printer. This is off of the Epson 3000. The problem with inkjet printers is inkjet printers typically don't know how to do enough ink deposit just out of the box. If you just put clear film on an inkjet printer, it really wants to print in color. It's really a color printer, and you say print the black only, and the black is fairly weak because it doesn't print real heavy black on colored images. It lets the other colors make the black also, and so inkjets don't lay enough ink down. You do need a product that goes either with your laser or your inkjet called PostScript. PostScript is a third-party program written by Adobe that lets you do what's called halftone dots. Halftone dots are small, tiny dots. If you want to do any kind of shading or gradations where you go from a dark color to a lighter color, well, in screen printing, you have to burn a screen somehow, and you can burn little tiny dots. If you took a look with a magnifier at the cover of your daily newspaper and looked at a photograph, you'll see it's made up of small, tiny dots. Those are called halftone dots. Well, PostScript is a language that tells typically a laser printer or an inkjet printer to do halftone dots. Not all PostScript does that, by the way. On an inkjet printer, PostScript also manages colors. So a lot of your inkjet printers have PostScript that does not do halftone dots. So a laser will be okay, but the laser should have PostScript built into it, but you'll have the problem of the shrinkage of the image and not dark enough toner deposit to burn a great screen. Inkjets are better, but you have to have a third-party software called a RIP, which interprets PostScript and tells the inkjet it's seeing PostScript. Because the beauty is, with an inkjet printer, there's no heat, and there's no shrinkage, and your films line up perfectly, so you get perfect registration. So you've got to look at output devices. Keep in mind, if you go to your supplier, he may still say, oh, you need to buy an inkjet, you need to buy a laser printer. Keeping in mind, your supplier sometimes is about 3 or 4 years behind the industry, and the hot thing today is inkjet output with a RIP that makes it work correctly, and FastRip is the inkjet output software device of choice. Now, if you're on a budget, there always is Plan B, and by the way, I want you to be aware that we'll never talk down to you. We started out years ago in our garage. We understand what it's like if you're a small printer to start off with limited funds and great idea, great hope for the future, and really want to be a business person and make a lot of money, and you know, it may take a little bit longer than you think, but in the beginning you only have so much funds, and you're going to have to spend the money here and there and buy a printer and buy a flash unit, and you're going to find that there's just not enough money, and so maybe an oversized laser printer isn't in the cards, maybe an Epson 3000 isn't in the cards for you. Plan B would be to take a regular desktop copier and make a copy onto overhead transparency material. Now, the good news, bad news is that it works, but the bad news is that the toner deposit's not very dark. And even though it looks dark as we look at it, we want it to be dark as we're looking through it. So if I hold it up the light and look through it, we're going to see it's pretty weak. It will burn a fair screen. But you could double it up, do 2 copies, and tape them together and burn a screen from it. So that's plan B, would be just use your desktop copier to do output. Plan C would be just to draw. You could draw the image on clear acetate and burn a screen from that. Plan D would be take your design to Kinko's or any of your quick copy centers and take them the artwork and have them copy onto overhead transparency material, which is used for sales presentations. So there's lots of ways you can do it. The bottom line is you want to evolve into getting your inkjet with FastRib, but for today, if you're on a limited budget and you want to get designs done and maybe try the process, take it to Kinko's or just come off of your regular copier. Okay, let's take a second. I'm going to talk to you about CorelDraw, and we're going to do a very simple design rapidly. And again, this is not a Corel tutorial as much as I'm trying to empower you as to how to use Corel, to realize it's a program you want to get, to see how simple the process can be. You know, a lot of times the customer does walk in there with just an idea. He says, you know, give me a cactus and put the word Arizona below it, and you're going, well, I need to hire an outside artist. There is third-party artwork called clip art, and clip art is ready to go, commonly called copyright-free artwork, meaning that it's images you can use, it's images you can put into designs. You could bring up the barbells and say this is going to be Phoenix, you know, weightlifting team. And you know, you may think it's not a very good piece of art. You may think that it's junky art, but in this industry, you have to sometimes put your ego away, put your artistic skills away. And if the customer's eyes light up when you do the design and they go, wow, killer, you have to kind of know you hit a home run, whether you like it or not, because they're going to love it on a shirt. They're going to be real happy to get a printed shirt. So you have to kind of keep your focus and not go too far ahead. But this is from our friends at Smart Designs, and they have multiple volumes of stock artwork, and they have lots of pre-done templates. Templates are where it's already got banners in place and graphics in place, and all you do is come in and add the soccer ball, add the school name, add the different colors you want, and output separations, and life is good. And so when you're using programs like CorelDraw or Illustrator, there's lots of art help there for you. Let's go to the computer monitor and look at CorelDraw right now. This again is CorelDraw version 11.0. Now, you could be on a newer version of Corel or an older version. What I'm going to show you is the same way. These programs all work very similar. On the left of the screen, we have what's called the toolbar, various tools. Corel can be overwhelming. If I click on the pull-down menus and drop them down, there are just lots of selections. Keep your focus. You're going to use CorelDraw to do some basic text. If I click on the text tool, bring the cursor up over the page, and type in the word T-shirts, I can hold the mouse button down and click and drag and make it bigger. And I misspelled it, obviously, but I can click, just like in word processing, and correct it. Let's go to the top pull-down property bar. We can now scroll down through the various typefaces that are in the computer. We can pick a typeface we like. I want you to think about design. Keep away from things that are too thin. It's hard to burn screens. Hard to read on a shirt. Think readable always when you're designing for T-shirts. But here you can see you can pick from hundreds of typefaces. And you want to try and think bold. You're going to walk into stores and start looking at shirts now and seeing what they look like. And you want to think bold. So here we have a word, T-shirts. Now we could right now take this one color image. We could say print, and out of our printer will come a one color image we can go and burn a screen from, and go to press, put any color of ink. By the way, I have this image in black, but it doesn't really matter because we could put red ink at the press, and life is good, and we've done a one color print. Now let me take this and enhance it a little more. We're going to go back to the screen. On the right of the monitor screen in CorelDraw, we have what's called the color palettes. And we want to be in what's called the Pantone Matching System Spot Color Palette. Depending on what version of Corel you're in, it's very important because Corel is set up out of the box to be what's called the CMYK palette, meaning if you fill the design with red, it won't really be red. It'll want to print out yellow and magenta to make the red. You want to be in the Pantone Matching System palette, very important. We can click and drag and drop a color. Now in computer graphics, everything is made up of a fill with an outline. Right now we have a red fill and a red outline. Back on the color palette, the right mouse button in Corel changes the outline. I just gave this a very, very thin hairline black outline. Hard to see till I zoom in.